भाई सब राजी खुशी भाई, क्या हाल चाल है तुम्हारे? बॉडी वॉडी बन रही है नहीं बन रही? दा, ये है मिठाइयों का असर, थोड़ी डेफिनेशन कम हो गई। नहीं, ये शायद लाइटनिंग का असर है। एक मिनट गाइस, अबे पहले एक मिनट ये भी चेक कर लेता हूँ कि आवाज़ आ रही है नहीं आ रही है। पता चला छोटे भाई ने म्यूट कर दिया है, हम बोले जा रहे हैं, अपने आप से बात करे जा रहे हैं। दैट वोंट मेक एनी सेंस, राइट गाइस? करे जा रहे हैं पर तुम्हें भी सुनाई दे रहा है। सो वी कैन बिगिन आवर फन। एक मिनट में लाइट ऑन कर दूं। सॉरी, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट डिफरेंट लाइट। सो हियर वी गो। ये अब दिख रहा है तुम्हें थोड़ा बहुत? लाइटनिंग है भाई, सब लाइटनिंग है, कुछ रियल नहीं है ब्रो। इट्स ऑल डिल्यूजनल, it's all fake. What you see on social media or what you see with your real life, it's all fucking different, guys. So we will stick to what is reality. So reality is meditation. So we're gonna sit in a pose like this. This will help us improve our meditation, of course, because we are trying to sit in this pose for around what, 4 to 5 hours. बट अभी हम बैठ पाते हैं सिर्फ 45 मिनट। 45 मिनट तक तो पहुंच गया है, ठीक है। तो इट्स गुड, यू नो, लेट्स स्टिक टू द बेसिक। एंड जो एक वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दैट यू कैन नो अबाउट, यू नो, थिंग इज दैट इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू टीच चिल्ड्रंस, यू नो, अराउंड 3, 4, 5, 6 एज, टू टीच देम हाउ टू मेडिटेट। अब तो साइंटिस्टों ने भी प्रूफ कर दिया है। वो ऑक्सफोर्ड वाले माँ के बेटे अंग्रेजों की बात सुनते हो ना तुम, गुलामों सालो, तुम गुलामों। अरे भैया गाली नहीं देता मैं, आई एम सो सॉरी, आई शुडंट हैव सेड इट, बट वी आर स्लेव्स। क्योंकि वो भी कह चुके हैं अब तो कि बच्चों को अगर, यार ये कैमरा फिर से नीचे हो गया क्या? मुझे पीछे जाना पड़ेगा कि आगे जाना पड़ेगा? पीछे आई गेस ठीक है नहीं, थोड़ा सा ऊपर करना जरूरी है, ज्यादा नीचे घिस गया भाई। थोड़ा सा भाई, थोड़ा सा ना, थोड़ा सा ऊपर हो जा। देखो होता ही नहीं होता। तो भाई अंग्रेज भी कह के थक गए कि चिल्ड्रंस हु रिसाइट गायत्री मंत्र हैव बेटर ब्रेन डेवलपमेंट। सो तुम क्यों नहीं सिखा रहे हो? गरीबों, बच्चों को हाथ में फ़ोन दे दिया, वो रील्स स्क्रॉल कर रहे हैं भाई। उन्हें बैठाओ, गायत्री मंत्र पढ़ाओ, बाद में उसे रील्स स्क्रॉल करवा लेना। जो उन्हें करना होगा वो करने का, पर उनका ब्रेन तो डेवलप होने दो। माँ के बेटों, क्या दिक्कत है तुम्हें बच्चों से? सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू गो इन द राइट डायरेक्शन। व्हेन यू आर गोइंग टू द राइट डायरेक्शन, इफ यू भटक जाते हो थोड़ा इधर उधर, देन इट्स फाइन, यू विल कम बैक टू द राइट पैथ। बट अगर तुम्हें रास्ता ही नहीं पता क्या सही है, तो तुम्हें तो गलत काम में ही मजा आएगा ना बीड़ू। Come on guys, this is beyond stupidity. How can you be so stupid, huh? How can be you so stupid? You can't be. Just show yourself. क्योंकि जो लोग कहते हैं ना कि भाई जो हम देखते हैं, ये जो एंटरटेनर होते हैं, कह देते हैं भाई हमारे करने से बच्चे बिगड़ रहे होते हैं, तो कब के बिगड़ जाते हैं। अबे भाई तेरे नाम देख के पूरी दुनिया ने बीच की मांग निकाल ली, हिंदुस्तानियों ने। इससे बड़े गवारों की फौज कहाँ मिलेगी तुम्हें? हैं, कहीं मिलेगी तुम्हें? सोशल मीडिया पे कोई ट्रेंड चलता है, सारे के सारे वो करने लगते हैं। भाई कोई सेंस है? भाई कोई सेंस है? सो एंटरटेनमेंट मेक्स यू व्हाट यू आर, व्हाट यू सी यू बिकम, ठीक है। अपने रोल मॉडल्स ध्यान से चुनो एंड यू विल बी लिविंग अ हैप्पी एंड हेल्दी लाइफ। अदरवाइज ब्रो, इट्स ऑल सक्स एट द एंड, इट्स ऑल सक्स। लाइफ ऐसे ही बीत जानी है, कुछ नहीं निकलेगा। बुढ़ापे में कहोगे यार कुछ उखाड़ ही नहीं पाए, क्योंकि बुढ़ापे में जाके पता चलेगा कि उखाड़ना क्या था। अभी तो तुम्हें लगेगा हमने ये उखाड़ दिया, हमने वो उखाड़ दिया, भैया हमें क्या कुछ नहीं मिला। भाई बुढ़ापे में कहोगे हमें तो कुछ नहीं मिला, हमें तो करना ही कुछ और था, ठीक है। सो अबे स्टीव जॉब्स पे कहता मर गया, उसके पास इतना पैसा था, उसके पास इतना पैसा नहीं था कि अपनी फ्लाइट पकड़ के मम्मी के पास चला जाए, पर रिग्रेट में मरा वो। क्यों? खेला काश मैंने थोड़ा वक्त अपनी मम्मी के साथ बिताया होता। अबे चुपे, इतना पैसा था तेरे पास, कभी भी कर सकता था तू जो ये करना चाह रहा था, बट नहीं, बिकॉज इट टेक्स गट्स, इट टेक्स अ मैन टू बी अ मैन। ठीक है, जो कि बहुत कमी है इस देश के अंदर, मर्दों की कमी हो गई है गाइस। हमें और मर्द चाहिए, हमें रियल मर्द चाहिए इस देश में। पता नहीं कैसे कैसे मर्द पैदा हो रहे हैं। वी डोंट वांट दिस काइंड ऑफ मर्ड्स अराउंड आवरसेल्फ। बहुत बुरा हाल है। सो हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम कर रहे हैं बेसिक सी चीज़ें। एक लाइफ को, हैप्पी लाइफ जीने के लिए क्या चीज़ चाहिए? 3 चीज़ चाहिए। तीसरी चीज़ तो मैं नहीं सिखा पाऊंगा क्योंकि मैं भी सीख ही रहा हूँ, पर 2 चीज़, हालांकि मैं तो सारी चीज़ें सीख रहा हूँ, बट स्टिल what I'm following is the first 2 things. First thing is first, that is what we call in Hindi, पहला सुख निरोगी खाया. So you have to be physically fit. You have to be निरोग, है ना? कोई रोग नहीं होना चाहिए बॉडी में कैसा भी, सर के बाल से लेके पैरों के नाखूनों तक, कुछ भी, like everything should be fine with your body. Then only you will have a happy life. कहीं भी फुंसी निकल आती है, घुटने में, पैर में, सर में, कहीं भी एक छोटी सी फुंसी तुम्हें दिक्कत दे देती है, तो सोचो जिसको बीमारियां होंगी उसका क्या हाल होगा। लोगों का पेट खाली नहीं होता है सुबह सुबह। सी, मतलब इट्स अ बेसिक, लाइक सुबह उठ के तुम्हें खाली पेट करना है, उसके लिए भी तुम्हारी दिन की दिक्कत है भैया, तो तुम्हारी लाइफ में कितनी बड़ी दिक्कत है। हाउ wrongly you are living your fucking life, brother. So पहला सुख निरोगी काया, गेट योरसेल्फ फिजिकली फिट, जिम जाओ, पार्क में जाओ, रनिंग करो, कुछ भी करो, पसीना बहाओ। That's the first thing I would like to say. And the second thing is get yourself educated, brother. Books पढ़ो। हमने यहाँ पे कौन कौन सी बुक पढ़ ली है? हमने अभी पढ़ ली है रिच डैड पुअर डैड, रिचेस्ट पर्सन ऑफ बेबीलोन, 0 to 1 बाय पीटर थील, और हमने 1-2 शॉर्ट बुक्स और पढ़ी है, और अभी अभी हमने जस्ट खत्म की है हाउ द मिस्ट्री मेथड, हाउ टू गेट ब्यूटीफुल वुमेन टू बेड। और अब हम एक नई बुक स्टार्ट करने जा रहे हैं जिसका नाम मैं अभी तुम्हें बताऊंगा, मैं भूल गया, बिकॉज टॉपिक डजेंट मैटर, राइटर डजेंट मैटर, द कंटेंट मैटर्स। ठीक है, कंटेंट मैटर करता है, चाहे वो सलमान खान कर रहा हो, शाहरुख खान कर रहा हो, चाहे जेम्स बॉन्ड कर रहा हो, चाहे किसी की भी मूवी हो, नाम पे नहीं जाते ना तुम लोग, देखते हो ना, फिर तुम्हें एंटरटेनमेंट आता है तो तुम्हें अच्छी लगती है ना वो। तो इट्स अ सिंपल मेथड कि नाम पे मत जाओ, कंटेंट देखो। अगर कंटेंट बढ़िया है तो वो बढ़िया है, लेकिन कंटेंट बढ़िया है ये जानने के लिए भी तुम्हारे अंदर वो अक्ल होनी चाहिए, वो भेजा होना चाहिए कि क्या सही है और क्या गलत है। Then only you will be able to decide what you have to say and what you do not have to say. So to make that judgment, you have to get yourself educated, brother. And education comes by book. So चाहे बुक पढ़ो, चाहे ऑडियो बुक सुनो, कुछ भी करो, but read books. So इसी श्रृंखला में हम किताबों की नई किताब शुरू करते हैं by the help of Everand. It's a book app, actually. I don't know what kind of app it is, but it's an app that gives you access to all kind of books that there are in the world, and you can read it, you can listen to it, or whatever you want to do with that, you can do it with the books. ठीक है, तो अभी अपन शुरू करेंगे एक बुक का नाम है द हिस्ट्री ऑफ संस्कृत लिटरेचर। See, it's I don't know how to tell you, but it's very important. First thing is to meditate. अपने बच्चों को, जो छोटे हैं, छोटे छोटे बच्चे, उन्हें आलती पालती मार के बैठाओ और उन्हें मेडिटेट करना सिखाओ। उनसे ओम बुलवाओ, उनसे गायत्री मंत्र बुलवाओ। ये साइंटिफिक है, इसमें मजाक वाली कोई बात नहीं है। It will help them grow their brain. They will have a better understanding of life in future. ठीक है, बड़े होके वो थैंक करेंगे तुम्हें 1 साल का वो गुब्बारा लगा के केक काटना, उसे घंटा फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा। वो कहेगा भाई ये चीज़ जो तुमने आज करी है ये मेरे 50 साल के बाद कुछ फ़र्क आएगी नहीं। बट आज अगर तुमने उसे मेडिटेशन करना सिखा दिया, वो ज़िंदगी भर तुम्हारा थैंक करेगा। वो अपने बच्चों को भी करना सिखाएगा। तो अपनी ब्लड लाइन के अंदर कुछ अच्छी हैबिट डालो। चेंज योर फकिंग ब्लड लाइन, यू डमएस। हाँ, कैसे सिखाना पड़ेगा। चलो, तो मजाक बहुत हो गया है। आप पढ़ते हैं अपनी बुक द संस्कृत लिटरेचर। आई वॉन्ट टू रीड इट फ्रॉम अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम, मतलब जब से मेरी नज़र पड़ी इस किताब पे मैं पढ़ना चाह रहा था। बचपन में ऐसा नहीं होता था भाई, अपने को तो ये लगता था नहीं भाई, अब दिक्कत पता क्या हो रही है, दिक्कत ये हो रही है भाई, क्या खतरनाक दिक्कत हो गई है। अब दिक्कत ये हो गई है कि अब गेम खेलने का मन नहीं करता भाई अब मन करता है बैठ के किताब पढ़ता जाऊं मैं। आई दिस इज सो रॉन्ग भाई, यार इस गेम का क्या होगा यार, इस गेम की वजह से तो मैं ऑनलाइन आ रहा हूँ। कोई नहीं भाई, बुक पढ़ने के बाद तुझे जरूर खेला जाएगा। अबे जैसे अपने वो वरदान नहीं देते थे भगवान, अबे जैसे कौन सा वरदान होता था वो, जैसे कोई भी वरदान ले लो, जैसे मतलब समझ लो किसी भगवान ने वरदान दिया कि जो भी मेरी मेरी पूजा करने आएगा, जैसे वैष्णो माता में कह देते हैं कि जो भी माता के दर्शन करने आएगा, जब तक वो भैरव जी के दर्शन नहीं करेगा उसका दर्शन पूरा नहीं माना जाएगा, है ना। तो वैसे ही, तो भाई चिंता मत कर भाई, तो गेम कॉल ऑफ ड्यूटी वॉरज़ोन तू टेंशन मत ले। मैं भले ही मेरा अफेक्शन किताबों की तरफ बढ़ गया है, बट भाई तुझे भूलूंगा नहीं भाई, मैं बुक पढ़ने के बाद तुझे जरूर खेला जाएगा, छोड़ा नहीं जाएगा। आई एम नॉट द वन दैट लीव्स समवन बिकॉज जस्ट बिकॉज दे स्टार्ट लविंग समवन एल्स, ठीक है भाई। हैं किसी और सेंस में मत लेना इस बात को, हैं जो कह रहा हूँ वही सुन लो, तुम तो कुछ और ही समझ जाओगे, हैं भाई। तो अपन स्टार्ट करते हैं बुक, फिर अपन गेम खेलेंगे, गेम भी खेलेंगे यार, गेम खेलना भी ठीक ठाक है। इट गिव्स यू सम काइंड ऑफ, आई डोंट नो व्हाट इट गिव्स, बट वी विल टॉक अबाउट दैट लेटर। ओम हरिओम, हमने अभी खाया है खाना। आई डोंट नो व्हाट यू गाइस डू, बट अपन क्या करता है अभी, जैसे भाई डाइट समझाऊँ तुम्हें थोड़ी सी अपनी, टाइम है तुम्हारे पास। डाइट में क्या होता है, एक टाइम में खाता हूँ अपना नॉर्मल खाना जो मम्मी जैसे हम सब के घर में बनता है। तो व्हाट आई डू, जैसे बीट रूट ले आए, बीट रूट को कद्दूकस कर लिया, उसके आटे के अंदर डाल दिया, तो बीट रूट की रोटियां बन गई, ठीक है। इट्स वेरी हेल्दी, फाइबर होता है, बहुत हेल्दी है। हमने तुमने लोगों ने अभी फाइबर दिमाग से निकाल चुके हैं अभी ना, सब जिम विम के चक्कर में सब प्रोटीन और ये सब चल रहा है, प्रोटीन भाई फाइबर, डू यू हैव एनी आइडिया हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट द फाइबर इज? समथिंग इंपॉर्टेंट है, लाइक इट शुड बी अ बैलेंस डाइट, बट अ बैलेंस डाइट शुड बी अ बैलेंस डाइट। जो तुम्हें सिखाया गया है इट्स नॉट अ बैलेंस डाइट। मतलब इस हमारी मार्केट के अंदर वेजिटेरियन में इतने सारे प्रोडक्ट्स हैं जो तुम्हें इतना फ़ायदा दे सकते हैं जिसकी तुम्हें उम्मीद नहीं है। लाइक दे कैन चेंज योर हेल्थ एंड योर गट टू सच एन एक्सटेंट, लेकिन हम उसका बेनिफिट नहीं ले पा रहे, क्यों? क्योंकि हमें पता ही नहीं है, हमारी सारी नॉलेज जा चुकी है। तो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, जैसे मैंने अभी करेले का वो सब्जी बना दी थी मम्मी ने, और बीट रूट की रोटियां बन गई थी, और तो अब मैंने लाइक देसी हरियाणवी खाना खाया, लाइक 4 रोटियां रखी, हर रोटी के ऊपर 2-2 चम्मच घी रखा, तो 8 चम्मच घी हो गया। करेला था और मैंने हरी मिर्च ले ली, और थोड़ी सी वो खांड कहते हैं, मतलब बूरा और चीनी के बीच का कोई होता है खांड, खांड ले ली, बस भाई पेट भर गया भाई, इतना घी खाया, मज़े आ गए। और सेकेंड मील में आप खा सकते हो जैसे कि मिलेट्स। मिलेट्स आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, लाइक वेरी फकिंग इंपॉर्टेंट। डू यू हैव एनी आइडिया हाउ इंपॉर्टेंट दे आर? तुम खा के देखो भाई, तुम्हारी ज़िंदगी बदल जानी है अगर तुमने मिलेट खा लिए तो। मैं बता रहा हूँ, मजाक से हट के बता रहा हूँ मैं तुम्हें, अपनी मील के अंदर एक टाइम, बस एक टाइम मिलेट ऐड करके देखो, कुछ नहीं होता, बस उसकी राइस की तरह बनते हैं, उन्हें भिगो दो, लेकिन उन्हें भिगोना पड़ता है पूरे दिन, ठीक है। ऐसा नहीं कि तुम चावलों को भिगो के ऐसे साफ करके वो कुकर में सीटी लगाए तो बन जाते, नहीं, भिगोना पड़ेगा। कल सुबह बनाने तो आज शाम को भिगोना पड़ेगा, कल सुबह तक भीगेंगे वो, और फिर बस जितना जैसे राइस बनाते हो, जितना पानी डाला, जितना मिलेट डाला, उतना पानी डाला, उसमें ढेर सारी वेजिटेबल्स डाल दी, मसाले वसाले डाल दिए, ज़्यादा मसाले मत डालना, ठीक है। और खैर मसाले इज़ योर चॉइस, आई डोंट गिव अ डैम। सो बट मिलेट जाएगा अंदर, तो फिर उसे प्रेशर कुकर में लाइक 1 और 2 सीटी लगा लो, 1 या 2 सीटी देख लेना तुम्हारा प्रेशर कुकर कैसा है, 1 सीटी में गला देता है तो ठीक है, नहीं तो 2 लगा लेना, 2 में गला देगा। सो आई डोंट नो व्हाट, आई एम नॉट गोइंग फॉर द टेस्ट ओवर हियर, ठीक है। मैं टेस्ट की बात नहीं कर रहा, आई डोंट गिव अ डैम व्हाट इट टेस्ट लाइक, बट योर बॉडी विल लव इट, योर बॉडी विल थैंक यू इट, कि भाई तूने मिलेट नहीं खाया आज तक, भाई तू दिमाग से हिला हुआ है क्या? तेरा दिमाग घुटनों में भी नहीं है क्या? जमीन में घुस गया क्या? तूने आज तक मिलेट नहीं खाया भाई? कैसी बुद्धि है तेरी, आज तक पता नहीं चला तेरे को? तूने इस शरीर का जरा सा भी ख्याल नहीं रखा। सो इट्स वेरी फकिंग इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू ईट मिलेट्स भाई, मिलेट ऐड करो अपनी लाइफ के अंदर, दे आर वेरी हेल्दी, दे गोना चेंज योर लाइफ, मैं बता रहा हूँ। Do you see the impact of it? They're gonna change your life. When I say this word, do you see the impact to it? They're gonna change your life. Is it easy to change your life? जिम जाना आसान है, अपनी डाइट चेंज करना आसान है, किसी चीज़ पे स्टिक करना आसान है, बट थिंग्स यू डू गोना चेंज योर लाइफ. So just eating one time a millets gonna change your life, you dumbasses. Why don't you do it? Let's start doing it. So बहुत हो गई बकवास, अब स्टार्ट करते हैं अपनी बुक द हिस्ट्री ऑफ संस्कृत लिटरेचर. अच्छा, ऑथर का नाम भी बता देता हूँ. ऑथर का नाम क्या है भाई? बता दे भाई, बता दे. अब यार क्या पंगे कर दिए मैंने. ऑथर का नाम ढूंढने दो भैया ऑथर, भैया ऑथर बताऊँ तुम्हें? शिट, ऑथर नहीं बता भाई, बाद में बता दूंगा कभी. मुझे नहीं मिल रहा भाई ऑथर, नहीं मिल रहा भाई, अभी ऑथर नहीं मिल रहा. कंटेंट पे आ गया मैं. ओ भाई कहाँ पहुँच गया मैं? सॉरी, चैप्टर 2 पे पहुँच गया. इसकी माँ की भाई. चैप्टर 1 मज़ा आएगा भाई, मज़ा आएगा. भाई इंट्रोडक्टरी क्यों कह रहा भाई चैप्टर 1 में? इंट्रोडक्टरी पढ़ोगे तुम लोग? पढ़ लेते हैं यार. हमने कभी मैं तो पढ़ता नहीं हूँ. आई बिलीव इन चैप्टर्स, बट पढ़ लेते हैं मे बी, यू नो, बिकॉज अपनी हिस्ट्री से रिलेटेड है, तो अपनी हिस्ट्री में तो कुछ भी मिस नहीं करना चाहिए. तो हम शुरू करने जा रहे हैं द हिस्ट्री ऑफ संस्कृत लिटरेचर, एंड दिस इज इंट्रोडक्टरी, एंड लेट्स बिगिन. Since the Renaissance, there has been no event of such worldwide significance in the history of culture as the discovery of Sanskrit literature in the later part of the 18th century. After Alexander's invasion, the Greek became to some extent acquainted with the learning of the Indians. The Arabs in the Middle Age introduced the knowledge of Indian science to the West. A few European missionaries from the 16th century onwards were not only aware of the existence of, but also acquired some familiarity with, the ancient language of India. And Abraham Roger even translated the Sanskrit poet Bhartrhari into Dutch as early as 1651. Nevertheless, till about 120 years ago, there was no authentic information in Europe about the existence of Sanskrit language, but only vague surmise finding expression in stories about the wisdom of the Indians. The enthusiasm with which Voltaire, in his essay sur les mores des nations, by French में लिखा है, ठीक है, greeted the lore of Azor Vedam, a work brought from India and introduced to his notice in the middle of the last century, was premature. For this work was later proved to be a forgery made in the 7th century by a Jewish missionary. The skepticism justified by this fabrication and indulged in when the discovery of the genuine Sanskrit literature was announced survived far into the present century. Thus, Douglas Stewart, the philosopher, wrote an essay in which he endeavored to prove that not only Sanskrit literature but also the Sanskrit language was a forgery made by the crafty Brahmins on the model of Greek and Alexander's conquest. Indeed, this view was elaborately defended by a professor at Dublin as late as the year 1838. The first impulse to the study of Sanskrit was given by the practical administration need of our Indian possessions. Warren Hastings, at that time Governor General, clearly seeing the advantage of ruling the Hindus as far as possible according to their own law and custom, caused a number of Brahmins to prepare a digest based on the best ancient Indian legal authorities. An English version of this Sanskrit compilation, made through medium of Persian translation, was published in 1776. The introduction to this work, besides giving specimen of the Sanskrit script for the first time supplied some trustworthy information about ancient Indian language and literature. The earliest step, however, toward making Europe acquainted with actual Sanskrit writing was taken by Charles Wilkins, who, having at the instigation of Warren Hastings acquired a considerable knowledge of Sanskrit at Banaras, published in 1785 a translation of Bhagavad Gita, the Song of the Adorable, 1, and 2 years later a version of well-known collection of famous entitled Hitopadika or Friendly Advice. Sir John Williams (1746 to 1794) was, however, the pioneer of Sanskrit studies in the West. It was this brilliant and many-sided Orientalist who, during his too brief career of 11 years in India, first aroused a keen interest in the study of Indian antiquity by his unwearied literature activity and by foundation of the Asiatic Society of Bengal (1784). Having rapidly acquired an accurate knowledge of Sanskrit, he published in 1789 a translation of Shakuntala, the finest Sanskrit drama, which was greeted with enthusiasm by such judges as Herder and Goethe. This was followed by a translation of Code of Manu, the most important of Sanskrit law book. To Sir William Jones also belonged the credit of having been the first man who ever printed an edition of Sanskrit text. This was a short lyrical poem entitled Ritu Samhara or Cycle of Season, published in 1792. We next come to the great name of Henry Thomas Colebrook, a man of extraordinary industry and combined with rare clearness of intellect and sobriety of judgment, the first to handle the Sanskrit language and literature on scientific principle. He published many text translation and essay dealing with almost every branch of Sanskrit language, thus laying the solid foundation on which later scholars have built. While Colebrook was beginning his literary career in India during the opening year of the century, the romance of war led to the practical knowledge of Sanskrit introduced on the continent of Europe. Alexander Hamilton (1765 to 1824), an Englishman who had acquired a good knowledge of Sanskrit in India, happened to be passing through France on his way home in 1802. Hostilities breaking out afresh just then. A decree of Napoleon, directed against all Englishmen in the country, kept Hamilton a prisoner in Paris. During his long involuntary stay in that city, he taught Sanskrit to some French scholar and especially to the German Romantic poet Friedrich Schlegel. One of the result of these studies were the publication of Schlegel of his work on Language and Wisdom of Indians, 1808. This book produced nothing less than a revolution in the science of language by the introduction of the comparative and the historical method. It led to the foundation of science of comparative philology by Franz Bopp in his treatise on the conjugational system of Sanskrit in comparison with the Greek, Latin, Persian, and German. Schlegel's work, moreover, aroused so much zeal for the study of Sanskrit in Germany that the vast progress made since his day in this branch of learning has been mainly due to the labors of this countryman. In the early days of Sanskrit studies, Europeans become acquainted only with that later phase of ancient language of India which is familiar to the Pandits and is commonly known classical Sanskrit. So it came about the literature composed in this dialect engaged the attention of scholars almost exclusively down to the middle of century. Colebrook had, it is true, supplied as early as 1805 valuable information, about the literature of the older period in his essay on the Vedas. Nearly a quarter of century later, F. Rosen, a German scholar, had conceived the plan of making this more ancient literature known to Europe from the rich collection of manuscripts at the East India House. And his edition of the first 8 of the Rigvedas was actually brought out in 1838, shortly after his premature death, but it was not till Rodolph Roth, the founder of Vedic philosophy, published his epoch-making little book on the literature and history of Vedas, 1846, The Studies of Sanskritis, received a lasting impulse in the direction of earlier and more important literature of the Vedas. These studies have since begun prosecuted with such zeal that nearly all the most valuable work of the Vedas as well as later period have within the last 50 years has been accessible in thoroughly trustworthy editions. In judging of the magnitude of the work thus accomplished, it should be borne in mind that workers have been far fewer in this than in other analog field. While literature of the Vedas at least equal in extent what survive of the writing of an ancient Greek, thus in the course of the century the whole range of Sanskrit literature, which in quantity exceeds that of Greek and Rome put together, has been explored. The great bulk of it has been edited. The most of its valuable production has been translated by competent hands. There has long been at the service of scholar a Sanskrit dictionary, a larger, more scientific than any other of the classical language yet possesses. The detailed investigation in every department of Sanskrit literature are now so numerous that a comprehensive work embodying the result of all these research have become a necessity. An encyclopedia covering the whole domain of Indo-Aryan antiquity has accordingly been planned on more extensive scale than that of any similar undertaking and is now being published at Stottsburg, in part contributed to by about 30 specialists of various nationalities. By the tragic death in April 1898 of its eminent editor Professor Buller of Vienna, Sanskrit scholarship has sustained an irreparable loss. The work begun by him is being completed by another very distinguished Indianist Professor Keelhorn of Göttingen. Although so much of Sanskrit literature has already being published, an examination of the catalogue of Sanskrit manuscript, of which an enormous number are preserved in European and Indian libraries, prove that there are still many minor works awaiting and likely to repay the labor of an editor. The study of Sanskrit literature deserves far more attention than it has yet received in this country. For in that ancient heritage of the language, the religion, and intellectual life and thought, in short, the whole civilization of the Hindus, who form the vast majority of inhabitants of our Indian empire, have their roots. Among all the ancient literature of India is, moreover, undoubtedly in intrinsic value and aesthetic merit second only to that of Greek. To the later it is, as a source for the study of human evolution, even superior, its earliest period being much older than any product of Greek literature, present a more primitive form of belief and therefore gives a clearer picture of the development of religious ideas than any other literary monument of the world. Hence, it came about that, just as discovery of Sanskrit language led to the foundation of the science of comparative philology, an acquaintance which with the literature of the Vedas resulted in the foundation of science of comparative mythology by Albert Kahn and Max Muller. Though it has though it has touched excellence in most of its branches, Sanskrit literature has mainly achieved greatness in religion and philosophy. The Indians are the only division of the Indo-European family which has created a great national religion Brahmanism and a great world religion Buddhism. While all the rest, far from displaying originality in this sphere, have long since adopted a foreign faith. The intellectual life of the Indians has in fact all along been more dominated by any religion thought than that of other race. The Indians moreover developed independently several systems of philosophy which bear evidence of high speculative power. The great interest, however, which these two subjects must have for us lies not so much in the result they attended as in the fact that every step in the evolution of religion and philosophy can be traced in Sanskrit literature. The importance of ancient Indian literature as a whole largely consists in its originality, naturally isolated by its gigantic mountain barrier in the north. The Indian peninsula has ever since the Aryan invasion formed a world apart over which a unique form of Aryan civilization rapidly spread and has ever prevailed. When the Greek toward the end of the 4th century BC invaded the northwest, the Indians have already fully worked out a national culture of their own, unaffected by the foreign influence. And in spite of successive waves of invasion and conquest by Persian, Greek, Scythians, Mormons, and the national development of life and literature of Indo-Aryan race remained practically unchecked and unmodified from without down to the era of British occupation. No other branch of Indo-European stock has experienced an isolation evolution like this. No country except China can trace back its language and literature, its religious belief and rites, its domestic and social custom through an uninterrupted development of more than 3,000 years. A few examples will serve to illustrate this remarkable continuity of Indian civilization. Sanskrit is still spoken as the tongue of the learned by thousands of Brahmins as it was centuries before our era. Nor it has ceased to use for literacy purpose, for many books and journals written in the ancient language are still produced. The copying of Sanskrit manuscript is still continued in hundreds of libraries in India, uninterrupted even by the introduction of printing during the present century. The Vedas are still learned by heart as they were long before the invasion of Alexander and could even now be restored from the lips of religion teacher if every manuscript or printed copy of them were destroyed. A Vedic stanza of immemorial antiquity addressed to the sun god Savitri is still recited in the daily worship of Hindu. The god Vishnu, adored more than 3,000 years ago, has countless votaries in India at the present day. Fire is still produced for sacrificial purpose by means of two sticks, as it was in ages even more remote. The wedding ceremony of the modern Hindus, to single out but one social custom, is essentially the same as it was long before the Christian era. The history of ancient Indian literature naturally falls into two main periods. The Vedic, which beginning perhaps as early as 1500 BC extend to its latest phase to about 200 BC. In the former half of the Vedic age, the characters of its literature were creative and poetical, while the center of the culture lay in the territory of the Indus and its tributaries. And the modern Punjab in the later half literature was theologically speculative in matter and prosaic in form, while the center of the intellectual life had shifted to the valley of Ganges. अंग्रेजों की तरह बड़ो गेंजिस भाई गंगा है वो गंगा गंगा मैया हमारी. Thus, in the course of the Vedic age, Aryan civilization has overspread the whole of Hindustan proper. The vast tract extended from the mouth of the Indus to those of the Gangas, bounded on the north by Himalayas and on the south the Vindhya range. The second period, the concurrent with the final offshoot of Vedic literature and closing with the Momnans' conquest after 1000 AD, is the Sanskrit period, strictly speaking. In certain sense, owing to the continued literature use of Sanskrit mainly for the composition of commentaries, this period may be regarded as coming down to present day. During this second epoch, Brahmanic culture was introduced into and overspread the southern portion of the continent called the Dakkan or the south. In the course of these two periods taken together, Indian literature attained noteworthy result in nearly every department. The Vedic age, which unlike the earlier epoch of Greece produced only religious work, reached a high standard of merit in lyrical poetry, later made some advance toward the formation of prose style. The Sanskrit period, embracing in general secular subject, achieved distinction in many branches of literature, in national as well as court epic, in lyrics, especially didactic poetry, in the drama, in fairy tales, fables, romance. Everywhere we find much true poetry, the beauty of which is, however, marred by obscurity of style and ever increasing taint of artificiality. But this period produced few works which, regarded as a whole, are dominant by the sense of harmony and proportion. Such considerations have had little influence on the aesthetic notion of India. The tendency has been rather toward exaggeration, manifesting itself in all directions. That the almost incredible development of details in the ritual observance, the extraordinary excess of atheism, the grotesque representation of mythology in art, the frequent employment of vast number in description, the immense bulk of epics, the unparalleled consciousness of one of the forms of prose, the huge compound habitually employed in the later style, are among the more striking manifestations of the defect of the Indian mind. भाई ये थोड़ी ना मोटी बुक है तो इट्स गोना टेक मी सम टाइम टू गो थ्रू. जैसे इंट्रोडक्शन में ही अभी 50 पेज बचे हैं, लाइक 55 पेज बचे हैं. सो स्टे विद मी. I think I should get some water because ये पढ़ने में मुझे मज़ा भी आ रहा है, तो मैं थोड़ा मन लगा के पढ़ पाऊँगा. पर उसके लिए अगर मेरा गला सूखेगा तो मेरे को प्यास लगेगी ना बिडू. लेट मी जस्ट गेट सम वाटर. भाई मेरा पैर सो गया है, पर सोए हुए पैर से भी हम काम करा सकते हैं. Well, let me just get back to you guys in a minute or two. Let me just get my water bottle. Where is the bottle? Now I have the water bottle with me, so let me just have a sip. Don't you guys find this fascinating? Like मुझे तो मतलब बहुत fascinating लगता है कि नहीं? Fascinating का हिंदी वर्ड क्या है? I don't know. But can you imagine a language spoken in such a manner that it feels like you are singing? मतलब हम बात कर रहे हैं और सामने वाले को मतलब it's like a poem. You're singing a song. मतलब तुम्हें गाना गाने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, तुम्हारी बात करने के तरीके से ही लगेगा, वो टोन आएगी कि तुम गा के बता रहे हो. इट्स सच ब्यूटीफुल, इट्स सच अ ब्यूटी वॉइस, इट्स सच अ ब्यूटी कि तुम बात कर रहे हो, सामने वाले को लग रहा है कि तुम गा रहे हो. मतलब सामने वाले का सेंस उसको भी लाइक इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल लैंग्वेज यार. वी नीड टू नो हाउ दैट वर्क्स. So for that reason we are reading this book with such energy, because it's our culture. Who's gonna represent it if we do not? We have to own it. So अपने को तो बड़ा मज़ा आ रहा है पढ़ने में. It's gonna talk about, क्योंकि अंग्रेज़ ने लिखी है ना, हमारे अभी भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें उन्हीं के पास है, तो they write better for us, क्योंकि आपने तो गुलाम बन चुके हैं, अपने देखो तो हिंदी भी नहीं अंग्रेजी में ही बोलने का है. सो कोई बात नहीं, irrespective of that हम किताब पढ़ेंगे. In various branches of scientific literature, in phonetic, grammar, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, law, the Indians also achieved notable result. In some of these subjects, their attainment are indeed far in advance for what accomplished by the Greeks. History is one of the weak spots in Indian literature. It is, in fact, non-existence. The total lack of the historical sense is so characteristic that the whole course of Sanskrit literature is darkened by the shadow of this defect. Suffering as it does from an entire absence of exact chronology, so true is this that the very date of Kalidasa, the greatest of Indian poet, was long a matter of controversy within the limit of 1,000 years, and even now doubtful to the extent of century or two. Thus, the date of Sanskrit authors are in the vast majority of cases only known approximately, having been inferred from the indirect evidence of interdependence, quotation, or illusion, development of language or style. As to the event of their lives, we usually know nothing at all, and only a few cases, one or two general facts. The two causes seem to have combined to bring about this remarkable result. In the first place, early India wrote no history because it never made any. The ancient Indians never went through a struggle for life, like Greek in the Persian and the Romans in the Punic War, would have welded their tribe into a nation and developed political greatness. Secondly, the Brahmins, whose task it would naturally have been to record great deeds, had early embraced the doctrine that all action and existence are positive evil, and could therefore have felt but little inclined to chronological history events. Such being the case, definite dates do not begin to appear in Indian history till about 500 AD. The chronology of Vedic period is altogether conjectural, being based entirely on internal evidence. Three main literature strata can be clearly distinguished in it by difference in language and style, as well as in religious and social views. For the development of each of these strata, a reasonable length of time must be allowed. But all we can here hope to do is to approximate the truth by centuries. The lower limit of the second Vedic stratum cannot, however, be fixed later than 500 BC, because its latest doctrine are presupposed by Buddhism, and the date of the death of Buddha has been with a high degree of probability calculated from the record dates of the various Buddhist councils to be 480 BC. With regards to the commencement of the Vedic age, there seems to have been a dedicated tendency among Sanskrit scholars to place it too high. 2000 BC is commonly represented as its starting point. Supposing this to be correct, the truly vast period of 1500 years is required to account for development of language, though hardly greater than that being Homeric and Attic age of Greece. Professor Max Muller earlier estimate of 1200 BC formed 40 years ago. appear to be much nearer the mark. A lapse of 3 centuries, say from 1300 to 1000 BC, would imply account of difference between what is the oldest and newest in Vedic hymn poetry. Considering that the affinity of these oldest form of Avestan language with the dialect of the Vedas is already so great that by the mere application of phonetic law, whole Aswan stanza may be translated word by word into Vedic, so as to produce verse correct not only in form but in poetic spirit. Considering further that if we knew the Avestan language at as early as a stage as we know the Vedic, the former would necessarily be almost identical with the latter. It is impossible to avoid the conclusion that the Indian branch must have separated from Iranian only a very short time before the beginning of Vedic literature, and can therefore have hardly entered the northwest of India even as early as 1500 BC. All previous estimates of this antiquity of Vedic period have been outdone by the recent theory of Professor Jacobi of Bonn, who supposed that period goes back to at least 4000 BC. This theory is based on astronomical calculation connected with the change in the beginning of the season, which Professor Jacobi thinks has taken place since the time of the Rig Veda. The whole estimate is, however, invalidated by the assumption of doubtful and even improbable meaning in the Vedic word, which forms the very starting point of the theory. Meanwhile, we must rest content with the certainty that Vedic literature in any case is of considerably higher antiquity than that of Greece. For the post-Vedic period, we have, in addition to the result of internal evidence, few landmarks of general chronology importance in the visit of foreigners. The earliest date of this kind is that of the invasion of India by Alexander in 326 BC. This was followed by sojourn in India of various Greeks, of whom the most notable was Megasthenes. He resided for some years about 300 BC at the court of Patliputra, the modern-day Patna, and left a valuable though fragmentary account of the contemporary state of Indian society. Many centuries later was visited by the three Chinese Buddhist pilgrims, Fa Hen, Yong-sang, and I Sing. The record of these travels, which have been preserved, are now all translated into English, shed much light on social condition and religious thought and the Buddhist antiquities of India in their day. Some general and specific fact about Indian literature also can be gathered from them. Huan Sang specially supplies some important statement about contemporary Sanskrit poet. It is not till his time that we can say of any Sanskrit writer that he was alive in particular year, excepting only the three Indian astronomers whose exact date in the 5th and 6th centuries have been recorded by themselves. It was only the information supplied by the two earlier Chinese writers that made possible the greatest archaeological discovery of present day in India, that of the site of Buddha's birthplace, Kapilavastu, identified in December 1896. At the close of our period, we have very valuable account of the country at the time of Mohammed's conquest by the Arabs. Author Al-Burani, who wrote his India in 1030 AD. It is evident from what has been said that before 500 AD, literally chronology, even in Sanskrit period, is almost entirely relative, priority or posterity being determined by such criteria as developed by of style or thought, the mention of earlier authors by name, stray political reference as to the Greek or to some well-known dynasty, and allusions of astronomical fact which cannot have been known before a certain epoch. Recent research owing to increased specialization has made considerable progress toward greater chronology definiteness. More light will doubtless in course of time come from the political history of early India, which is being reconstructed with great industry and ability by various distinguished scholars from the evidence of coins, copper plates, grants, rock or pillar inscriptions. These have been or are being published in the Corpus Inscriptionis Indicaris, the अबे कुछ scientific से नाम है पता नहीं, and various journals devoted to the study of Indian antiquities. The rise in the study of epigraphy during the late 20 years have indeed already yielded some direct information of importance about literacy and religious history of India by fixing the date of some of the later poets as well as by throwing light on religious system and whole class of literature. Thus, some metrical inscriptions of considerable length have been deciphered, which proves the existence of court poetry in Sanskrit and vernacular dialect from the 1st century of our era onwards. No direct evidence of this fact has previously been known. The older inscriptions are also important in connection with Sanskrit literature as illustrating both the early history of Indian writing and the state of the language of the time. The oldest of them are rock and pillar inscription dating from the middle of the 3rd century BC of great Buddhist king Ashoka, who ruled over North India from 259 to 222 BC. India, and during whose reign was held the third Buddhist council at which the canon of Buddhist scriptures were probably fixed. The importance of these inscriptions can hardly be overrated for various value of information to be derived from them about the political, religion and linguistic condition of the age. Found scattered all over India from Girinagra in Kathiawar to Dhauli in Orissa, from Kapurdigiri north of Kabul River to Khalsi, they have been reproduced, deciphered and translated. One of them engraved on a pillar erected by Ashoka to commemorate the actual birthplace of Buddha was discovered only at a close of 1896. These Ashoka inscriptions were earliest record of Indian writing. The question of the origin and age of writing in India, long involved in doubt and controversy, has been greatly cleared up by the recent paleographical research of Professor Buller. That great scholar has shown that of the two kind of script known in ancient India, the one called Kharosthi, employed in the country of Gandhara, eastern Afghanistan and northern Punjab from the 4th century BC to 200 AD, was borrowed from Aramaic type of Semitic writing in use during the 5th century BC. It was always written from left to left, like its original. The other ancient script called Brahmi is, as Buller shown, the true national writing of India, because all later Indian alphabets are descended from it. However dissimilar many of them appear at the present day. It was regularly written from left to right, but that was not its original direction. It's indicated by the coin of the 4th century BC. The inscription on which runs from right to left. Dr. Buller had shown that this writing is based on the oldest northern Semitic Phoenician type, represented on Assyrian weight and on the Moabite stone, which dates from about in 890 BC. He argues with much probability that it was introduced about 800 BC into India by traders coming away from Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia. एक घुट पानी मिलेगा, एक घुट पानी चुको भाई. The reference to writing in ancient literature are, it is true, very rare and late, in no case perhaps earlier than the 4th century BC or not very long before the day of Ashoka inscription. Little weight, however, can be attached at the argumentum exclam in this instance. भाई अपन ने पता नहीं भाई कितनी देर हो गई अपने को चेक करें भाई पढ़ते पढ़ते थोड़ा गेम भी खेल लेंगे भाई क्योंकि ये लंबी बुक है इसको आराम आराम से पढ़ना पड़ेगा देखते हैं अपने को कितना टाइम हो गया है अपने को 55 मिनट्स हो गए हैं तो हमने कुछ देर बकवास भी करी थोड़ी देर बुक भी पढ़ी So I think we should stop here. We should stop here and we will begin from here. Look at the history of Sanskrit. बहुत सारी बुक है यार क्या क्या पढ़ेंगे सब पढ़ेंगे धीरे धीरे तो लेकिन बुक पढ़ने में टाइम जाता है तो अभी अपन 1 घंटा ठीक है गेम अब थोड़ा गेम खेल लेते हैं रिसर्जेंस कैजुअली खेलेंगे तो आई डोंट नो हाउ यू गाइस फीलिंग बट आई एम रीडिंग इट फॉर माई सेल्फ ठीक है तुम्हारे लिए तो पता आई डोंट नो इफ यू विल फाइंड इट इंटरेस्टिंग और नॉट बट इट डजंट मैटर टू मी बिकॉज आई एम रीडिंग इट फॉर माई सेल्फ क्योंकि मुझे मज़ा आ रहा है ये पढ़ने में आई वॉज ऑलवेज कीन टू यू नो रीड बुक्स और इस तरह की बुक्स जो हमारे कल्चर के बारे में हमें थोड़ा भी बताती हैं इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू रीड दैम बिकॉज इफ वी विल नॉट रीड अबाउट आवर कल्चर आवर एंशिएंट कल्चर देन हु विल कोई नहीं तो हमें ही पढ़ना पड़ेगा सो गेट योरसेल्फ एजुकेटेड इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट यू नो जस्ट एजुकेशन हम ये नहीं कर रहे हम वो नहीं कर रहे हम बस एजुकेटेड हो रहे हैं यू नीड टू नो द ट्रूथ गाइज यू नीड टू नो द ट्रूथ इफ यू डोंट नो द ट्रूथ हाउ वी गोना सर्वाइव ब्रदर चलो आप खेलते हैं गेम बहुत दिनों बाद खेल रहा है रन्नो मेरे हाथों की क्या हालत होगी बट लेट्स सी व्हाट वी कैन डू बट मुझे लग रहा है मुझे मेरे पैर खोलने पड़ेंगे सो गए होंगे फिर से गेम शुरू करो जल्दी पैर सो गए हैं मेरे टाइम क्या हो गया 12:30 वी हैव टाइम जब शुरू कर दो जल्दी मेरा पैर गए हैं मेरा
Enemy dropping into the AO. Check your gear and weapons. We'll be deployed shortly.
सही है भाई तेरा एम सही था भाई
All stations, this is Shadow 01. Warzone has been authorized. Resurgence. Survive and your team can redeploy. Eliminate targets to bring them back faster.
यहाँ पे तो सबके अपने ठिकाने हैं.
Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies. I'm hit! Mark remaining operators from that squad. Hunt them down. Taking effective fire!
Fuck. निकल सकता था ऊपर तो बहुत दिन से खेला नहीं है ना तो कोई बात नहीं.
Loading new mag. I'm back on station. You're redeploying. 10 remain. You're almost done here. Enemy soldier incoming. Took a round! Target down. Marking the rest of them.
Shit, अब किसी और ने मारा पीछे से.
Contract
Shit.
failed. Objective lost. You have reinforcements inbound. Back in the fight! You're back on station. Go get after it. Get your squad to the safe zone. Leave no one behind.
भाई जनता कहाँ लग रही है मुझे ये बताओ.
Friendly loadout drops on the way. Taking effective fire!
Swapping back.
Reloading! Enemy dropping into the AO. Changing mag! Kill confirmed. We've located the rest of them. Watch your fire! squad mate is redeployed. Well done. We've got 10 squads active in the field. Good kill. Marking the rest of that squad on your tac map. Get hunting. Be advised, you still have squad mates outside the safe zone. Dropping into the area. Watch the skies. Enemy destroyed. Use your tac map to hunt down the rest of them. Reloading! Squad mates back on station. Good work. Changing mag! All the remaining operators from that squad. Hunt them down. Enemy soldier incoming. Taking effective fire! Your squad mate is redeployed. Well done. Fire sale is active. Buy station prices are adjusted. Kill confirmed. We've located the rest of them. I'm reloading! Enemy destroyed. Use your tac map to hunt down the rest of them. Your squad mates back on station. Good work. Resurgence window is ending. Watch your six. Enemy dropping into the AO. Squad mates are in the safe zone. You have reinforcements inbound. Your squad mate is redeployed. Well done.
कोई तो है नहीं, वो भी चला गया. शिट.
Fire sale's over. Adjusting prices.
कोई नहीं होगा. अबे यार टांगे दर्द कर गई भाई. Ah shit, here we go again, brother.
Be advised, no longer active.
Oh, बड़ी लंबी सांस ली भाई इसने. कई देर तक जिंदा रहा भाई ये. कूद क्यों गया भाई?
I'm back on station. Redeployment. Some of your squad is outside the safe zone. bring home the win. 5 squads still operational in the AO. You're in the top 3. Don't let up now. Enemy UAV is online.
Someone buy me back in.
Ready.
Shit.
Advise you to load up now.
2-3 लोग थे यार.
Back in the fight.
Back in fight. Oh.
Get to the safe zone. You're losing ground. Moving.
Buy station right there. I'm ready.
Only 2 left. 3 squads.
भाई अपन ने करे 8 किल. नहीं, कहाँ है राव साहब? 8 किल. भाई किसी ने 22 भी करे भाई. हमारी टीम में 23, सॉरी 22. चिंकी था भाई. चिंकी ले गया भाई. लीव मैच. प्ले अगेन करते हैं. शिट. ठीक ठाक था वैसे यार गेम.
Check weapons and gear. We're holding for deployment. Enemies are dropping into the area.
I'm dropping into the area, brother.
Reloading. Switching mags.
All stations, we are green to go. Stand by for deployment. resurgence. Survive to redeploy fallen teammates. Shield to bring them back faster. Mark the drop point for your squad and hit the field. Enemy soldier incoming.
Shit.
Target down, marking the rest of them.
I'm reloading!
Kill, marking the rest of that squad on your attack map. Get hunting. Vulnerable buy station marked. Head to the buy station before time runs out to get a discounted item. Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies. Locating the rest of them.
भाई गन देख रहा है
Changing
भाई.
mags!
Enemy dropping into the AO. You have reinforcements inbound.
Reloading!
My station vulnerability exploited. Good work, team. Discount is applied. Down. Good kill. Marking the rest of that squad on your attack map. Get hunting. Hostile UAV in the area. Target down. Marking the rest of them. You've got a loadout drop inbound. Enemy UAV overhead. Enemy soldier incoming.
Need mags! Ah!
Enemy destroyed. Use your attack map to hunt down the rest of them. Loadout drop headed your way. Only 10 left.
Taking effective fire!
Incoming LDVR. Mark remaining operators from that squad. Hunt them down. Enemy dropping into the AO.
I'm reloading!
Squad mates back on station. Good work. Target down. Marking the rest of them. Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Last mag!
Your squad made it to the safe zone. We've got gas moving in.
I'm red on ammo! Taking effective fire!
Shit.
Inserting armor! What's a fucking fireball? Look! I'm back on
10
station!
squads active in the field. Don't get your revenge. Fire sale active. Buy station prices have been reduced. Enemy dropping into the AO.
I'm hit! I'm red on ammo!
Hostile UAV in the area. Good kill. Marking the rest of that squad as attack man. Get hunting. Resurgence is about to end. Make it count. Enemy marked.
Reloading!
Enemy destroyed. Use your tag map to hunt down the rest of them. Moving to my mark. I'll locate it. Enemy soldier incoming. Get your squad to the safe zone. Leave no one behind.
Last mag!
Enemy destroyed. Use your tag map to hunt down the rest of them.
I'm reloading!
Your squad mate is redeploying. Well done. Resurgence has been deactivated. This is the end game.
I'm hit!
Supply crates have been
I'm red on
restocked.
ammo.
Load up.
Could someone buy me back in? Last mag!
Only 4 remain. Finish the job. 5 squads still operational in the AO. Gas is inbound. Enemy UAV is online. Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Reloading! Could someone buy me back in? Could someone buy me back in? Took a round!
Shit.
You're in the top 3. Don't let up now.
Contact! I'm not done yet.
भाई ने करे हैं 14 किल, फिर भी ठीक ठाक है, ताको ज़्यादा खींचना 14-20। बुक पढ़ने के बाद दिमाग चला जाता है ट्रांसमिस आई डोंट नो। टीयर क्लेम्ड, हमने कौन सा टीयर क्लेम कर लिया भाई? तो अब चलो खेलेंगे बाद में। See you guys, tata, sayonara, and we'll see you again tomorrow maybe. We're gonna play some game, get back to you, see you soon guys. So tata, bye bye, sayonara. Broadcast stop guys, bye bye, Har Har Mahadev। हाँ भाई, राम राम भाई, सारे आने।